Circulatory system, sometimes referred to as cardiovascular or vascular system, controls the steady circulation of the blood through the body by means of the heart and blood vessels. Not only are we going to do massage manipulations which will stimulate the blood circulation, but I want you to understand how important it is to us. First off, when hair begins to grow, it is a bloody mush, believe it or not. It does not start off as hair. And it grows from where from where blood goes through the bloodstream, comes out in the capillaries, and seeps through the follicle wall. And the amino acids in it begin to form with each other, and at that point it is just bloody. And as it moves up, the peptide bonds are formed, hooking the amino acids together. Then it begins to form side bonds and come on up through the follicle. It loses some of its moisture as it comes up, and it comes out as we see it today once it gets all of its side bonds formed and its peptide bonds formed. But it's actually fed through the bloodstream. The skin is also fed through the bloodstream and comes right up under the epidermis, as you can see, so it's easy to get blood spots. The nails are also fed by the bloodstream. So circulation is of vital importance to us, and especially keeping it stimulated so that it works well. The circulatory system is made up of two divisions: the blood vascular system that consists of the heart, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries for the distribution of blood throughout the body. The lymph vascular system or lymphatic system acts as an aid to the blood system and consists of lymph, lymphatics or lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and other structures. Lymph is a clear yellowish fluid that circulates in the lymphatics of the body. It also carries waste and impurities from the cell. Heart's referred to as our pump. It's a muscular cone-shaped organ that keeps the blood moving within the circulatory system. It's enclosed by a membrane known as the pericardium. And this is for about the same reason that our bacteria had formed spores. Why did they form them? To protect themselves. So the pericardium protects our heart. The approximate size of the heart is a closed fist, and it weighs about 9 ounces. It's located in the chest cavity. The heartbeat is regulated by the vagus or 10th cranial nerve and other nerves in the autonomic nervous system. In a normal resting rate, the heart beats 72 to 80 times per minute. The interior of the wall contains 4 chambers and 4 valves. The upper thin wall chambers are called the right and left atrium. The lower thick wall chambers are the right and left ventricles. We have valves that protect us from backflow. We've got dirty blood that's got to be cleansed through the lungs and the kidneys, and the last thing we want it to do is backflow and mix with our pure oxygen-rich blood. So the valves between the chambers allow the blood to flow only in one direction. With each contraction and relaxation of the heart, the blood flows in, travels from the atria to the ventricles, and is then driven out where it's distributed all over the body. The blood is in constant and continuous circulation. 2 systems attend to this circulation. The pulmonary circulation sends the blood from the heart to the lungs to be purified. And systemic circulation or general circulation carries the blood from the heart throughout the body and back to the heart. An overview of how the heart works. Blood flows from the body into the right atrium. From the right atrium, it flows through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The right ventricle then pumps the blood to the lungs, where it releases its waste gases and receives oxygen. The blood is then considered to be oxygen-rich. The oxygen-rich blood returns to the heart, entering the left atrium. From the left atrium, the blood flows through the mitral valve into the left ventricle. The blood then leaves the left ventricles and travels to all parts of the body. The blood vessels are tube-like structures that include the arteries, capillaries, and veins. The functions of these vessels is to transport blood to and from the heart and also to the various tissues of our body. Arteries are thick-walled, muscular, flexible tubes that carry oxygenated blood away from the heart and to the capillaries. The largest artery in the body is the aorta. And I always remember the difference in arteries and veins by artery, a word, away from the heart. Also, away is a. Veins, then, are the thick-walled blood vessels that are less elastic than the arteries. They contain the cup-like valves that prevent backflow and carry blood-containing waste products from the various capillaries back to the heart. Veins are located closer to the outer skin surface of the body than arteries, and that's what we see when we look at our arms or our wrists when they're drawing blood. Capillaries, then, are minute, thin-walled blood vessels that connect the smaller arteries to the vein. They bring nutrients to the cells and carry away waste materials. This is what I was talking about when I said the capillaries seep the blood out and it goes into the hair bulb and the hair follicle. Blood itself is a nutritive fluid circulating through the circulatory system. We have approximately 8 to 10 pints of blood in our body. That contributes about 1/20th of the body's weight. Blood is approximately 80% water. It's sticky and salty. The temperature of blood is 98.6. It's bright red in the arteries except for the pulmonary artery, and it's dark red in the veins. Why is the difference in that color, do you suppose? The arteries are taking purified blood away from the heart. It's bright red. Got more oxygen. It's cleaner. And as it goes away, as it's coming back in the veins, it becomes a dark red because it's got the carbon dioxide. The color change occurs with the exchange of carbon dioxide for oxygen as the blood passes through the lungs, and the exchange of oxygen for carbon dioxide as the blood circulates throughout the body. The blood is composed of red and white corpuscles, platelets, plasma, and hemoglobin, and each one of those serve a different purpose. The red blood cells are also called red corpuscles or erythrocytes. They are produced in the red bone marrow. We learned that in the skeletal, didn't we? They contain hemoglobin, which is a complex iron protein that gives blood its bright red color. The function of red blood cells is to carry oxygen to the body cells. What happens to us when our hemoglobin gets low? The book didn't tell us, did it? We get weak, want to have fainting spells, we don't feel like doing much. White blood cells are also called white corpuscles or leukocytes. They perform the function of destroying disease-causing germs. Platelets are called thrombocytes. They're much smaller than the red blood cells. They contribute to the blood clotting process, which stops bleeding. Plasma is the fluid part of the blood in which the red and white blood cells and blood platelets flow. It's about 90% water, but it contains proteins, sugars, and oxygen. The main function of plasma is to carry food and secretion to the cells, also to take carbon dioxide away from the cells. Blood performs the following critical functions to us. It carries water, oxygen, food, and secretion to all of our body cells, enabling them to grow and reproduce, self-repair. Carries away carbon dioxide and waste products to be eliminated through the lungs, the skin, kidneys, and the large intestine. Helps to equalize our body's temperature so it protects us from extreme heat and cold. It aids in protecting the body from harmful bacteria and infections through the action of the white blood cells. Isn't this what happens to the individual when they get HIV? Acts on their immune system so that we know we've all got bacteria entering our body. But when we get a disease like HIV, our body is not able to handle it as it is in a healthy state. And it also closes injured blood vessels by forming clots, thus preventing blood loss. The lymph vascular is known as the lymphatic system, acts as an aid to this blood system and blood supply we have. Lymph is circulated through the lymphatic vessels. It's filtered by the lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are gland-like bodies in the lymphatic vessels. This filtering process also helps us to fight infection. Primary functions of the lymphovascular system are to carry nourishment from the blood to the body cells, to act as a defense against invading bacteria and toxins. We want to remember that toxins mean poison. Removes waste material from the body cells to the blood. It provides a suitable fluid environment for our cells. Arteries of the head, face, and neck. The common carotid arteries are the main sources of blood supply to the head, face, and neck. They are located on either side of the neck, and each one is divided into an internal and external branch. The internal carotid artery supplies blood to the brain, eyes, eyelids, forehead, nose, and internal ear. We hear about people have heart blockages a lot, and they go in and open these blockages up, right? Do you ever hear about the carotid arteries being blocked? What occurs when the carotid artery is blocked? We're getting no blood supply to the brain, for one thing, or a limited amount of blood supply. Can they go in and unblock the carotid? They actually can go in and unblock the carotid, but it's not like having the bypasses or unclogging the veins in the heart, because you'll hear about them being in surgery for 2, 3, 4 hours to have that done. They have a window of 8 minutes to do the carotid artery. Once they get in, they've got to unclog it and be out in 8 minutes. And naturally, they can only do one side at the time because it cuts off the blood flow to the heart, or excuse me, to the brain while they're doing the surgery. The internal carotid artery supplies blood to the brain, the eyes, the eyelids, the forehead, the nose, and the internal ear. The external carotid artery supplies blood to the anterior or front parts of the scalp, ear, face, neck, and side of the head. The external carotid artery subdivides into a number of branches. Of particular interest to us are the facial artery, or external maxillary artery, that supplies blood to the lower region of the face, mouth, and nose. It has some branches we're interested in. The submental, we remember where mental was at? The submental supplies blood to the chin and lower lip. Inferior labial artery. What is inferior? Under. Labial or labii. Lips. Inferior labial artery supplies blood to the lower lip. Angular artery supplies blood to the side of the nose. Superior labial artery. So again, superior is over, labii or labial is lips. Superior labial artery supplies blood to the upper lip and the region of the nose. Superficial temporal artery. If you've not read anything, where would you think the temporal artery is? During the temple area. So the superficial temporal artery is a continuation of the external carotid artery, supplies blood to the muscles of the front side and top of the head. And it has some branches we need to know about. The frontal artery, where would we think it was at? Forehead. Frontal artery that supplies blood to the forehead and upper eyelids. Parietal. Y'all remember the parietal bones? Parietal artery supplies blood to the side and crown of the head. Transverse facial artery supplies blood to the skin and masseter. What's the masseter? The what? The chewing muscle? Masseter. The middle temporal artery. So again, we got temple or temporal. Supplies blood to the temples. Anterior auricular artery. Anterior is in front of. Auricular is what? The ear. Anterior auricular artery supplies blood to the front part of the ear. Two other arteries that branch from the external carotid artery are the occipital artery. Where is occipital? Occipital artery supplies blood to the skin and muscles of the scalp and back of the head up to the crown. Posterior auricular. Posterior means what? Behind, auricular, ear. Supplies the scalp, the area behind and above the ear, and the skin behind the ear. Two branches of the internal carotid artery that are important to know are the supraorbital. Supra we know is over. Where is orbital? The eyes. Supraorbital artery supplies blood to the upper eyelid and forehead. So the infraorbital artery would supply what? The eye. But what part of the eye? Infra. Super is over. Under. Infraorbital artery supplies blood to the muscles of the eye. Veins of the head, face, and neck. The blood returning to the heart from the head, face, and neck flows on each side of the neck, two principal veins, the internal jugular and external jugular. The most important veins of the face and neck are parallel to the arteries, and they take the same names. The ulnar and radial arteries are the main blood supply of the arms and hands. So where is the ulnar artery probably located? The little finger side of the hand. The radial would be where? We're looking for the radial artery. It's going to be the thumb. The important veins are located almost parallel with the arteries and take the same names as the arteries. While the arteries are found deep in the tissues, the veins lie nearer to the surface. Do we have questions? Do you understand what I was talking about with the hair a while ago being fed from the bloodstream? Matter of fact, it has a zone it goes through from the time the blood leaves the capillary, goes into the hair bulb and the hair follicle. It says it goes through the zone of keratinization because hair is protein. And you know what protein is if you studied your food groups, eating that, your steaks and your meats. Protein substances. We eat protein, it's broken down and goes into the bloodstream. The blood then seeps out of the capillaries and goes into the follicle and hair bulb. And the amino acids of proteins begin to join together to form a protein again. It's just a different type of protein. Hair and nails and skin is said to be fiber proteins. So blood is vitally important to that in our general health. Whenever we start on different types of medication, gets into the bloodstream, we'll often see it in the hair. When we get sick, it affects the bloodstream, we'll see it in the hair and skin. So circulation is very important to us.